The townspeople murmured in shock. Corwa was captured? Baron Valmont sighed dramatically, shaking his head. What a shame. Khan, gripping his hammer, scowled. That bastard planned this. He knew he couldn't win fairly, so he pulled this stunt. Grid, struggling against the guards, growled. What the hell are you talking about? I don't even work with Corwa. Let me go. Amidst the chaos, Rebbot approached Grid's dagger, his gaze sharp as he inspected the craftsmanship. I've been in this business for 20 years. I've seen countless weapons, and yet, the moment he laid eyes on Grid's work, his breath caught. Even Aaron's dagger, it can't compare. Turning to Valmont, he spoke in a hushed, urgent tone. He created something incredible. Valmont remained silent for a moment, then sighed. We had no choice. The crowd expected Aaron to win. Declaring him the victor would be disastrous for our reputation. Rebbot's voice darkened. So you noticed it too. That's why you called the guards. Valmont's lips curled in displeasure. Do you think I'll give up this forge over a stupid dagger? Waving a dismissive hand, he ordered, Take the dagger. We can't let anyone see its stats. Rebbot nodded. Understood. As the guards dragged Grid away, Rebbot watched him carefully. With skills like his, he's destined to shake the very foundations of this world. The name burned itself into his memory. Grid, I won't forget it. Nearby, Ephemera stood beside Grid's dagger, tracing a finger along its blade. This thing is beyond incredible, she muttered, shaking her head. I never stood a chance. But then she smirked, brushing her hair over her shoulder. Still, the crowd is on my side. I completed the task. It's time to collect my reward. Turning to Rebbot, she demanded. I held up my end of the deal. Where's my payment? Rebbot gave a reserved nod. Of course, we always honor our agreements. Satisfied, she folded her arms. But something nagged at her. That boy. He didn't look like someone working with criminals. Are you sure he deserved that arrest? Rebbot's gaze flickered toward the dungeon's direction. The matter has already been handled. It's best not to dwell on it. Ephemera studied him, her lips curving into a mischievous smile. I can't say I liked his personality, but I'd love to know more about him. Rebbot chuckled, shaking his head. He probably didn't expect to face a blacksmith competition against an elite player. He then shot her a knowing glance. Your skills are remarkable, but I noticed something. You moved exactly like Khan. You must have copying abilities. Ephemera tensed, her eyes narrowing. Sharp bastard. He saw through me. Rebbot turned away, lost in thought. One day, Marrow's corruption will catch up with them. And when that day comes, I need to be ready. Gazing toward the forge, he murmured. And that forge is the key to everything. Because of Grid's talent. Ephemera tilted her head. You make it sound like he's some sort of prodigy. Rebbot's expression darkened. Even the best merchants in Byran can only dream of reaching his potential. She raised an eyebrow. You think he's that good? A wicked smirk spread across Rebbot's face. I have an interesting proposal for you. How would you like to help me break him out? Hearing Rebbot's offer, Ephemera tilted her head and smirked. Grid. Huh? The moment he showed up, I snagged an S-rank quest and a new title. If sticking with him means more of that. With a carefree shrug, she answered, Well, I guess I have no choice but to help you. After Grid's abrupt arrest, Khan gathered the villagers in his forge, his voice shaking with fury. That bastard Valmont got what he wanted. For now, one of the locals clenched his fists. With Corwa captured, we can't wait anymore, we have to act. Khan looked out at the determined faces before him. I appreciate all of you, but we can't leave everything to Grid and Corwa. If we want freedom, we must seize it with our own hands. A defiant roar erupted from the crowd. We fight for our future. This time, we'll win our freedom. But before their rebellion could truly begin, an arrow whistled through the air. It struck one of the villagers in the back, sending him to the ground with a pained groan. The crowd turned in shock to see Baron Valmont standing in the forge's doorway, smirking. An uprising, huh? How predictable. Valmont, the villagers roared his name in fury. Khan took a step forward, gripping his hammer. You rigged the competition, and now you want to steal the entire village. Aren't you afraid of the people's wrath? Valmont let out a low chuckle and turned to his general. "Tell me, Sir Philipson, should a lord concern himself with fear?" Philipson gave a curt nod. "Of course not. The only thing that matters is suppressing the uprising." Valmont stretched his arms lazily. "There you have it. Now be good little peasants, drop your weapons and surrender. I'd like to finish this quickly and get some rest." With a sharp command, Philipson barked, "Seize Khan!" The soldiers rushed forward. Meanwhile, deep within Winston's dungeons, Korwa sat in a cold, damp cell, his head resting against the wall. His fingers tapped idly against the stone floor as he counted the days. 48 hours in real time, he mumbled, his voice hoarse. "Somebody get me out of here already." At the headquarters of the SA group, a tense emergency meeting was underway. One of the analysts glanced at the vital signs displayed on the monitor and spoke urgently. "Korwa's ECG is dangerously unstable. If this keeps up, we can't guarantee Alanbatter's safety." A nervous employee turned to the Mongolian branch's general manager. "If we don't pull him out of the system now, we could have a serious incident on our hands." Park In-hak stroked his chin. "But he's already survived 48 hours in real time. If we pull him now, we'll be abandoning his quest." "That's too risky," another employee protested. "And to make matters worse, his supposed savior Grid has been arrested." "Exactly," another added. "Are we really going to place the fate of our company's first dual-class player in the hands of that guy?" The room fell into an uneasy silence. "The current probability of success," an analyst muttered, "is 9%. Park In-hak exhaled sharply. 9%, huh? He folded his arms. Even with those odds, Grid's imprisonment has put him closer to Korwa. There's still a chance. One of the employees shook his head. A chance? With that guy? But Park In-hak couldn't shake his instincts. Something about this situation felt inevitable. Grid may be low-level and greedy, he thought, but his sheer stubbornness is something else entirely. If anyone can flip these odds, it's him. Turning to his team, he spoke decisively. "There are only 2 hours left. Let's see what happens." Back in Winston Castle's dungeon, the iron doors of an interrogation room slammed shut. A guard sneered at Grid, slamming a fist against the table. "Confess. Tell us who Korwa was working with." Grid groaned, rolling his eyes. "What the hell are you even talking about?" The guard's patience snapped. "If you don't answer, we'll kill you." Grid leaned back in his chair, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Then do it already." Silence filled the room for a brief second before the guard snarled, drawing his sword. "You insolent dash." Grid smirked, watching as the soldier's anger flared. "Come on, just do it." He clenched his fists under the table. "If I die, I'll respawn and get back to Khan. But if they keep me locked up dash." Before the soldier could strike, another guard shoved a gag into Grid's mouth, muffling his words. The first guard snapped his head toward his comrade. "What the hell, Leo?" Leo crossed his arms. "You know how these immortals work. Killing him is pointless. We'll just throw him in solitary." Grid's muffled protests turned frantic. "No, no, no." As he struggled, he thought, "If they lock me up, Khan's finished, and I won't even be able to log out." The lead guard gestured for the others. "Take him away." Grid panicked. "Wait, I have to stall them." He frantically nodded, trying to convey surrender. "I'll talk. Just take the gag out." The guards ignored him, dragging him toward his cell. As the heavy doors slammed shut, a system notification appeared before Grid's eyes. Quest created. Apostle of Justice objective. Rescue Korwa within 7 hours. Reward, title Apostle of Justice, associated quests with Korwa. Failure penalty, title Coward. Grid stared at the notification, blinking in disbelief. "Wait, I've seen this before. This is the quest Korwa got." His jaw clenched as he read the conditions again. 7 hours. But I'm stuck in a damn cell. This is impossible. And then his heart dropped. "You cannot refuse this quest." Quest accepted. What? A deep, soul-crushing despair settled over him. "Are you kidding me? I can't decline. This is the worst quest in history." He banged his head against the wall. 26 years of my life, and I've never won a single damn thing. Of course I'd get stuck with a legendary class that screws me over. Tears welled up in his eyes as he cursed the heavens. The goddess of luck has abandoned me forever. And then, a voice echoed through the dungeon's cold, stone halls. Grid, are you in here? His eyes snapped open. That voice. It was Ephemera. Hey, Grid. Grid shot up, his eyes darting around the dark cell. That voice. He squinted through the dim light and, to his shock, spotted Ephemera pacing outside the cells. What the hell is she doing here? Not that it mattered. Right now, she was his last hope. Ephemera, however, wasn't thrilled by the lack of response. Where is this ill-mannered brat? She huffed, crossing her arms. Inside the cell, Grid clenched his fists. That damn kid. Ding. A system notification flashed before his eyes. Time remaining for quest completion. 2 hours. Grid's stomach twisted. Shit, I'm running out of time. He banged his head against the cell door, hoping to make some noise. Hearing the sudden racket, Ephemera turned, startled. What was that? She followed the noise and soon found Grid, his head bruised from desperate banging, peering at her through the iron bars. She gasped, "Oh my God, you scared me." Then, sighing in relief, she smiled. "Doesn't matter. At least I found you." Grid groaned, unable to speak properly through his gag, as she rummaged through her bag. "Hold on, I'll get you out soon. But first dash." She pulled something out and held it up. His dagger. "This belongs to you," she said, grinning. "You really made something incredible." Grid stared, momentarily stunned. She actually brought it back. And even complimented me? His heart swelled for a moment. Maybe she's not so bad after all. But before he could bask in the rare moment of appreciation, "But," she continued, folding her arms, "I have a condition." Grid's eyes narrowed. "Of course there's a catch. You're going to make me an orb," she declared. "One that can store as many spells as possible." Grid blinked. An orb? Since when do I make magical objects? He had never crafted anything like that, but whatever. If it got him out of here, he'd forge a damn palace if she wanted. "Fine," he muttered. "Deal. Also," she added, her tone turning sharp, "stop calling me a kid. My name is Ephemera. Use it." Grid stared blankly at her. Wait, so Irina was just a pseudonym? How many layers of deception does this girl have? "Fine, whatever," he grumbled. Ephemera. Once she freed him from the cell and untied his ropes, Grid finally ripped off the gag and exhaled. Finally free. Ephemera handed him the dagger. "Here, take it." Grid took the weapon, but suspicion crept in. "Why are you helping me? And wait, how did you even get into the dungeon?" Ephemera smirked, brushing imaginary dust off her sleeve. "I'm not a blacksmith, if that's what you're thinking." Grid frowned. "Then how dash? I have the hidden class duplicator." She flicked her hair over her shoulder. "During the competition, I copied Khan's blacksmithing skills. That's how I got in." Grid's eyes widened. "You're a hidden class." Only 3 players in the game had managed to get an epic class. He had just stumbled onto one of them. Ephemera grinned, clearly enjoying his reaction. "And you're hiding something too, aren't you?" She tilted her head. "You have a unique or legendary class, right?" Grid stiffened. "She's sharp." Trying to deflect, he smirked. "I don't know, but I do know that I like girls with curves." Ephemera's smile dropped instantly. "Shut up." Before he could tease her further, she turned serious. "I don't care what class you have, but you better be strong enough to fight." Grid blinked. "What?" She pointed behind him. "Because we've got company." Grid turned and immediately regretted it. A flood of guards was pouring into the dungeon. His stomach dropped. Why are there so many? Did they bring the whole army? Ephemera rolled her eyes. "I already took out a bunch, but more keep coming. I need your help." Grid's fingers tightened around the dagger. "Damn it! I only have one weapon." Before he could panic further, he examined the dagger's stats. Item: Grid's unique dagger attack power, plus attack speed, plus instant kill probability, plus wind strike skill unlocked. Ding. You have equipped your self-created item. You do not meet the required stats. Penalties applied. Attack power reduced by 50%. Only half of item effects available. Grid's face darkened. Even as the creator, I get penalized. Meanwhile, Ephemera peered over his shoulder at the stats and gasped. Holy crap, you're a killer. Grid choked. What? No. But look at the instant kill chance dash. I'm a blacksmith. Ephemera raised a brow. Then how the hell are you using a dagger like that? Grid sighed, rubbing his temples. This kid. Before they could argue further, look out! Ephemera yelled. Grid turned just in time to see a spear flying straight for his face. He barely ducked in time, feeling the weapon slice through the air above him. You could have warned me sooner, he barked. Ephemera shrugged. I was busy admiring your terrible luck. Grid gritted his teeth. Fine. If they want to fight, they'll get one. Lifting his dagger, he activated Wind Strike. A powerful gust blasted forward, sending a wave of guards tumbling like dominoes. Ephemera whistled. Damn, that was impressive. Grid smirked. You're just gonna stand there? Or are you actually gonna help? Ephemera stretched lazily. My job was just to break you out. I think I deserve a break. Grid stared at her in disbelief. You're seriously gonna be greedy now? The next moment, a system notification popped up in Grid's vision. Time remaining. 1 hour, 25 minutes. Grid groaned. Damn it. There's no way I can fight all these guards and make it in time. He turned to Ephemera, his voice urgent. We need to move. There's someone else we have to save. Ephemera blinked. Someone else? I already rescued the old man Khan on my way here, she said casually, as if saving people was just another daily task. Grid froze. Wait, Khan was arrested too? Ephemera shrugged. Yeah, but he's safe now. Grid exhaled in relief. Well, thanks for that, but the guy we need to save is someone else. His name is Korwa. Ephemera frowned. Who? I've only met him once, so I don't know much, Grid admitted. Ephemera's expression darkened. So, you're telling me we're risking our lives for a total stranger? Yeah, Grid said flatly. Ephemera huffed, crossing her arms. Sounds like a waste of time. I'm not running around saving random people dash. Why? Grid snapped. I don't want to be part of this mess either. But here we are. Just listen to me, you stubborn little dash. He caught himself too late. Ephemera's eye twitched. Her entire aura shifted into something menacing. What? She said through clenched teeth. Did I tell you about calling me that? Before Grid could backpedal, she raised her hand and shouted, Spear of Destruction. Oh, come on. Grid dove out of the way just as a massive blast shot passed him straight into the approaching guards. Boom! The explosion rocked the dungeon, sending soldiers flying and clearing a massive path ahead. A stunned silence followed. From the back, one of the few surviving guards shouted, Be careful! She's dangerous! Grid peeked at the destruction, sweat dripping down his face. She just threw that out like it was nothing. Ephemera dusted off her hands. Fine, I'll help save this Korwa guy. But if you call me a child again dash, she smiled sweetly. I'll incinerate you. Grid saluted immediately. Understood, ma'am. I have committed a grave sin, ma'am. Good boy. As they moved deeper into the dungeon, Grid grumbled. How much farther? I thought the 3rd floor was the last one. Ephemera shook her head. Nope. We have to go down to the 4th floor. Grid checked his timer. 1 hour, 10 minutes remaining. Are you sure he's not above us? Ephemera rolled her eyes. I checked. The 1st and 2nd floors were empty. Trust me. How do you know? I have my sources. Grid groaned. Great. Love that for us. As they reached a fork in the path, Grid hesitated. Which way dash before he could finish? Voices echoed from behind. They're down below. After them. Panic hit. This way. Grid shouted, running blindly. But Ephemera didn't follow. She was staring at a small blue flower growing out of the dungeon wall. Wow, how does something so beautiful grow in such a horrible place? She mused. Grid's stomach dropped. Wait, don't touch it. Too late. Click. A mechanical sound echoed through the hall. Grid barely had time to react before whoosh, an axe swung down from the ceiling, missing his head by an inch. Grid slowly turned, face pale. Ephemera stood there holding the flower. She laughed awkwardly. Heh, my bad. Grid took a deep breath. Please, stop touching things. Ephemera pouted. You worry too much. Click. Another trap activated. Grid dove out of the way as a barrage of arrows shot past. Ephemera sheepishly chewed on a banana. I was hungry. You're eating right now? Multitasking, she said, winking. Grid buried his face in his hands. How is this child still alive? Oh, Grid, look, another flower. No dash click, another trap. Grid barely dodged a set of swinging blades. Ephemera. I swear to God dash, the girl huffed. You're being dramatic. We're actually clearing the traps so we don't step on them later. Smart, right? Grid twitched. If we survive this, I'm getting you a leash. Before Ephemera could argue, a guard's voice boomed. Found them. After them. Grid didn't hesitate. Bye. He leapt into a hole leading to the 4th floor. Ephemera gawked. Hey, what are you doing? Leaving the soldiers to you. Grid called as he disappeared into the darkness. Ephemera stared after him, jaw-dropping. Did he just dash? From below, Grid shouted. I have no armor. I'm useless in battle. Handle it. Ephemera clenched her fists. That selfish dash, the guard stormed towards her. She sighed, cracking her knuckles. Guess I'll handle it. Lifting her hands, she whispered, Ice Queen's breath. A frost storm erupted, freezing multiple guards on impact. But more kept coming. Ephemera scowled. This would be easier with fire magic, but in a dungeon? Cook us both. She glanced at her skill list. Still got 11 skills left from the Piero quest. But the real problem is her eyes locked onto 5 figures approaching from the back. The Winston Knights. One of them grinned. She's alone. Let's capture her first. Ephemera exhaled. Great. Guess it's time to get serious. The moment the guards tried to regroup, a blinding blade of light cut through the air, slicing through the ranks like butter. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she prepared to activate her last few spells. Even if he did manage to save Korwa, why am I so sure he'll come back for me? One of the guards exchanged glances with his comrade. What if that blacksmith brat escaped? His companion scoffed. The Lord's men are waiting for him at the exit. We should be worrying about this girl instead. The soldiers nodded in grim agreement, and one muttered reluctantly, I hate to admit it, but let's team up on her. Ephemera gritted her teeth. Damn it, I can't hold them all off. She clutched her staff, her mind racing. I have 3 spells left, and they're all fire-based. If I use them in here, I'll be caught in the blast too. With a shout, the guards lunged at her from both sides. Ephemera barely dodged, twisting away as a blade whizzed past her cheek. Why the hell did I trust that idiot? Another soldier rushed at her from behind. I'm surrounded. Her hands flew up instinctively, activating a barrier skill, her last defensive option. Clang. The knight's sword slammed into her shield. The soldier laughed. Look at that. She's running on empty. Another guard stepped forward. Time to pay for all the men you slaughtered. Which? He raised his sword. Nothing personal. Ephemera braced herself. This is it. My last chance. Her fingers tightened around a hidden dice charm in her hand. If I'm lucky, I'll survive. If I'm not, dash. Oh, come on. A familiar voice rang out through the dungeon. A bunch of proud knights ganging up on a girl? How shameful. Ephemera's head snapped up. Grid. A grin spread across her lips. Took you long enough. One of the guards gasped. How are you here? Another paled. Wait, if he's back. Does that mean Leo was defeated? Grid rolled his shoulders, cracking his knuckles. Leo? Oh, you mean that guy who blew himself up? Yeah, super easy fight. The guards' faces drained of color. Impossible. Grid took a slow step forward. You thought I was helpless? His voice lowered menacingly. Ephemera's eyes narrowed. Why are they so scared? NPCs usually avoid enemies who are 30 levels above them. But just how high is this guy's level? A knight growled. This bastard is just a blacksmith. His comrade grabbed his shoulder. Wait, we have to be careful. One of the soldiers swallowed hard. After defeating Leo, he's even more confident now. We should be extra cautious. Grid smirked. If you don't want to end up like your friend, I'd suggest you leave. Korwa, watching from behind, stared in awe. At first, I thought he was pathetic. But now even the knights are terrified of him. Grid, meanwhile, was enjoying himself. Booga, This is awesome. They're shaking. And the best part? I don't even have to fight them. Ephemera will do it for me. One of the guards glanced toward the exit and gulped. We're already near the staircase. Another yelled in desperation. Stay back. Damn it. A third knight tried to rally the others. Don't be scared. He can't be that strong. Grid grinned. Oh? You sure about that? He turned toward Ephemera. Hey, Ephemera. Blow them up. The girl hesitated. You know, maybe you should handle them. Grid frowned. What? I can't beat them alone. Ephemera crossed her arms. Didn't you already defeat Leo? Just do it again. Grid's eyes twitched. And not exactly dash. Die, blacksmith. Two knights charged at him. One swung his sword. How dare you mock us? Die, criminal. Grid panicked. Oh. Shit, why do I keep provoking them? The blade arced downward. But then slam. Korwa suddenly jumped in front of him, taking the hit head-on. Korwa! Grid yelled. The knight who landed the strike froze. His blade trembled in his hands. And then he dropped it. The knight stumbled backward, clutching his arm in pain. What the hell dash? Grid stared. Wait. What? Korwa stood unscathed. Grid blinked. Korwa, are you okay? The young man smiled confidently. I'm perfectly fine. How? Ephemera, watching from behind, gaped. Did he just tank that attack? Korwa nodded. It's all thanks to my new skill steal will. A reward for surviving that nightmare of a quest. Grid's jaw dropped. You got that for free? Ignoring Grid's outburst, Korwa turned to him. Mr. Grid, you need to run. Grid's eyes widened. What? Why? Korwa smirked. I'll hold them off. As Korwa clenched his fist, he mentally vowed, I want to repay you for saving my life. Hearing that Korwa planned to hold back the enemy, Ephemera whipped her head around. What the hell are you going to do? Grid grabbed her wrist. Forget it, we're leaving. Now. As they fled the battlefield, Grid grinned over his shoulder. Hey, Korwa, hold him off as long as you can. Ephemera, following Grid, threw a glance back. Hope we meet again. One of the guards furiously pointed at the escaping pair. You bastards! You're not getting away. The soldiers moved to chase. No. Korwa's voice rang out, stopping them in their tracks. The next moment, he activated his provocation skill. You useless morons! Do you really think you can just walk past me? You're nothing but garbage. More insults poured from his mouth. The system notification popped up. Your opponent's stats have been lowered. One of the knights staggered, blinking in confusion. My body. What is this? Seeing his skill take effect, Korwa clenched his fist. Time for the next one, unwavering justice. His gaze hardened as he activated his trump card. Feel this. The knights braced for impact, and then, nothing happened. One knight tilted his head. Ha! Another stared at his own body. Wait, what was that supposed to do? Korwa's smirk disappeared. Oh, right. This skill scales off physical strength. He sighed. Useless. Just like me. One of the knights, realizing the bluff, snarled. You little shit. You were faking it? Another guard shouted. Tie him up. As they rushed him, Korwa exhaled in relief. The quest is over. I can finally log out. He smiled faintly. 50 hours. Finally. Before they dragged him away, he sent one last thought. Mr. Grid, I wish you luck. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Grid collapsed onto the grass. Boogaloo. Fresh air. Ephemera yanked him up by the collar. Shut up. We're still in enemy territory. She peered toward the castle gates, her mind racing. If the knights downstairs call for reinforcements, we're screwed. She turned back only to see Grid rolling on the grass, sighing dreamily. Ah, the sky is so blue. The grass is so green dash. A vein popped on Ephemera's forehead. Get up. She grabbed him by the ear. Listen, idiot, do you want to die? Grid flinched. Okay. I get it. Serious mode. Ephemera huffed, glaring at him. How is someone this ridiculous also a legendary class? Before she could continue, Grid's eyes widened. Ephemera? She turned. Behind her an army of knights. And at the front Lord Winston. Hey, criminals! Lord Winston sneered. You thought you could escape? Ephemera's blood ran cold. That's the Lord's personal guard. We're dead. Baron Lowe scowled, scanning the bodies of his knights. I can't believe it. All my men dead. Grid winced. Yeah, that's on Ephemera. Ephemera, meanwhile, was cursing under her breath. Damn it, we let them track us. Lord Winston's eyes darkened. If they escape, the villagers will report me to Count Stime. I can't let that happen. He threw out his hand. Seize them. Grid's face paled. Ephemera, do something. Ephemera clenched her staff. TCH, no choice now. Fire flared in her eyes. Fine, burn. She raised her staff, chanting, Demon King's fire tail. A wave of hellfire erupted across the battlefield. Boom! Every knight caught in the blast was incinerated. Even Lord Winston was blown backward, coughing up blood. Unreal. One spell? Ephemera lowered her staff, exhaling. That felt good. She approached the crawling nobleman, smiling sweetly. As they walked further, Rebid glanced at Ephemera. Was it just me? Or did Grid seem scared of you? Ephemera waved dismissively. He's not scared. He just likes to play dumb. She smirked. But don't underestimate him. He beat a lord's knight in a fair fight. Rebid stiffened. He's stronger than a knight? A blacksmith shouldn't be that strong, he muttered. Then the realization hit him. His eyes widened. Pagma! Ephemera arched a brow. Rebid's pulse pounded. A legendary blacksmith with this much power? His hands shook. My God! He's Pagma's descendant. A slow grin crept onto his face. I just made a deal with a living legend. But fate had other plans. Word of Rebid's rebellion and Ephemera's rampage reached Count Stime. Marrow's company collapsed. Baron Valmont and Lord Lowe? Arrested, tried, executed. And Rebid? Imprisoned for 10 years. His plans crushed before they could begin. As they led him away, Rebid sighed. At least I saved my life. He smiled sadly. Mr. Grid, I got to be part of the story of a new legend. With the tyrants gone, Winston flourished. And far away, a certain blacksmith grinned at his growing fortune. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment Flamingo and subscribe for future parts.